Yes, we're doing it again, my friends. It's number 18, episode 18. This is going to be with an amazing magician. His name is Jamie Salinas. I'm super excited about doing this. So let's get it started, and it goes something like this. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I hope that you're doing well, and I hope that wherever you are is doing good for you, my friends. It is me, it's Paul Carpenter. Thank you for joining me today. Today, I have an amazing guest. He will be here in just a moment. There he is. He jumped in already. Man, we're getting good at this. He is jumping in now. His name is... I am going to be adding in the comments section the intro and all the information there for everybody to know who Jamie is. There he is, Jamie Salinas. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so happy you're here today. How are you? How is everything?
It's early morning for me, so I'm rising and shining. Well, rising. I don't know about shining.
Well, you're shining every day, my friend. And please forgive me that it's so early. I know it's rough, especially on a Sunday, and you don't have to work, and you may not have a gig today, so that you're going out of your way. I really appreciate it. It only helps bolster me, really, when I get to say that, oh, man, look at all these amazing people that I've had on my show. And it only makes me feel much more like accepted, I think, in some weird way, because I'm doing something that other people are like, oh, I would love to be part of that. So with that being said, Jamie Salinas, who are you? Where do you come from? What's your story? And what do you do?
Well, I guess my 10-minute elevator speech, I will say. Now, I honestly don't know how long this is going to be, but you know what? I'm going to time this so I know. Well, I am a part-time professional magician. Part-time meaning I don't make my 100% living from this, or at least 70% a living from it, although I make a major portion of my living from performing magic. And I probably perform, if not the same, probably more than a lot of full-time guys. I work a lot. I had a show yesterday, show today, show Wednesday, show Monday night. I mean, I do work a lot. So, I stay very, very busy. And this is during the not so much the busy season. Busy season coming up in October, coming up in December. So I'll be working quite a bit. So, yes, I'm a very busy performer.
And you actually have a regular day job as well, am I right? Like a 9 to 5 regular job.
Yes, I have a degree in computer science. I got my degree first, and then I decided I wanted, well, I got my, you know what? I got the magic bug bit when I was in college. And and I'll tell you that story, how I got performing professionally coming up in a little bit. But for me, everything timing was perfect, right place at the right time. Stuff worked. It's pretty fast. Things move very fast for me. And I was really into the thick of it. But I have a degree in computer science, so I manage tech support for the Harris County Department of Education.
Whoa.
I've got a great team. I've been very lucky at hiring really good people. And I'll give you a couple of quick tips. If you're out there and you want to hire somebody, and you want to hire somebody in a customer service role, number one, check their social media. If you are going to be in a tech support role, you're going to be dealing with customers a lot. I don't want people with bad attitudes, with negative attitudes. So I'm going to go look at their social media profile. Let's look at their postings. Are they saying traffic sucks? I hate the world. This woman got on my nerves. These idiot drivers. People are just complaining constantly.
Right.
That's not the person you want in a customer service role. So because when you interview everybody, when you interview everyone, it's like test driving a brand new car.
Mhm.
They all smell great. They all have that nice clunk when the door closes. But a year from now, that Kia, that door is going to be loose. The Toyota is going to be tighter. I mean, it just, that's where the better brands are going to stick out over that short amount of time. And that's the same way with people. So that's one way to hire motivated people. I hire people that really want the job. That they. I gave somebody a break not too long ago. I hired somebody who was not as experienced. His mom worked for the organization. His brothers worked for the organization. He worked for the organization in maintenance, but he got his degree in computer science during the pandemic. Young guy, he's about to get married. He's making close to minimum wage. And I hired him in a tech position because he had the will, the desire, young, he wants to learn, and I'm changing his life. And I told him, don't let me down. You need to learn every day. You
Right.
need to
But
be here. You need to be, what can I learn today? How can I grow today?
yeah, man, but the fact that you gave him an opportunity, it's something that that I had 2 episodes ago, I believe. Her name was Larissa.
Mm-hmm.
And at 40 something years old, she decided to meet some people that were in a radio station in Houston. And she ends up hanging out with the people over and over again. And one of them says, "Hey, look, I have a new radio show and I need somebody to be an engineer." And she goes, "I don't know what that is." And he goes, I'll show you what to do. Just come and be part of it. You're already here. You're already, and so the fact that, and she grew exponentially. She worked with Outlaw Dave on the radio for years. And this is somebody who never had any training,
Right.
was just willing to put herself out there and do it. And that's it's great to be on the other side of the conversation on some level, of somebody who was able to give that to somebody else. And it just shows that, if you step up and you're willing to show people that your consistency level will be there, that your ability to try and create positive change in the world, as you were saying, if you're watching somebody's social media and you see that what they're doing is something positive, then you can't take back from that. You can't be upset at them for doing something positive, right? So,
Right. Well, there's an old business saying that says a static business is a dying business. And there's a lot of people that are very complacent with where they are. And there's nothing wrong with being complacent and doing the job you like to do in a day in and day out. I mean, I've been performing almost 40 years. I worked last night, a strolling job. And when I get there, well, first of all, the lady tells me it's a gender reveal party. We're going to have some people having dinner, and then we want you to perform some magic at the end that reveals the sex of our baby.
mm-hmm.
And of course, they're going to tell me what the sex is. Great. It sounds simple, sounds easy. And that's all the information I had. I sent out the contract, I had the address and everything. And when I get there, number one, I showed up, I would call it casual dressy. I had jeans on, but I had dress shoes on. I had a black dress shirt. I had a black vest, no jacket, because I'm assuming I'm going to be at a restaurant, which I am, and we're going to be in a banquet room, and everybody's going to be pretty much casual. Well, I get there, it's a wedding. People
It's a
are
what?
dressed. It's a wedding. People are in formal attire. The woman is a full, complete wedding dress. And so that's number one. Number two, when I get there, the room is a big, long room. And so most people are on one side of the room. There are tables on the other side of the room. There's an empty space in the middle of the room, and the bride and groom are sitting right in front of that empty space. So I'm going to be performing in the middle of people to my right, people to my left, and most performers
It's a
are
street
going to
show.
say,
It's a street show.
no, this can't work. I'm leaving. And they're going to have this bad attitude. And, I just thought to myself, how do I make this work? Now, the good news is I had only planned for 40, 50 people, like she said. There were 100 people there. So I went to the car. I got my sound system, which I always carry with me, because if you don't sound good, if people can't hear you, they had a DJ there, and he's going to give you a handheld mic. He's got the echo turned all the way up on his mic, even though you tell him turn the reverb all the way down. He'll still you don't know what you're going to get. You're going to get feedback. You're going to get all kinds of stuff. So I went to the car, got my sound system. 5 minutes, I was set up, ready to go. I told the DJ, hey, at this point, just make an announcement. We have a special performance for you. Fade your music. I will play my intro. Everything's good. And that's what I did. And I performed basically in the round. And I did
Great.
20, 30 minutes. It went fantastic. The groom came up to me afterwards and said, my family I was really apprehensive about this, and my family would probably, I thought they're going to eat you alive, and this was going to be a big disaster. And this was my wife's idea, but it's her idea, so I ran with it. And he says it was the greatest thing ever.
Bam! That's so
So,
good.
so that's
That's
the
so
whole
good,
thing.
Jamie.
So the whole
But
point
that's
of this,
but I
not to
think
brag,
that's also
but the whole point of this,
experience,
say
right?
that again.
I said that's also the experience, the 40 years of
Yes,
performing that you
yes,
have in your pocket,
yes. But even if you don't have that experience, it's the mental attitude. You have to say, okay, this is a challenging situation, but I'm going to make the best of it. And here's what I can do. And I'm not going to focus on what I can't do. I'm going to focus on what I can do. And I'm just going to have the greatest time ever. And I did. I went out there with a positive attitude, and that's the main thing. I've seen guys. I performed New Year's Eve many years ago, not about 4 or 5 years ago, at a club. We're at a club. It's loud. The music is cranked up. People are dancing. People are drinking, and there's a juggler, and he is pissed off. He's mad because he's there, and the music is too loud. Nobody is sitting there watching him.
watch.
He's background entertainment, just like I am. And he's just off in the corner, juggling and mad. And I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he said, "Oh, this is the worst environment, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "No, you need to get out there, smile, act like it's the best thing ever." And the other juggler was out there doing that. And the audience was dancing with him. He would toss the balls to them, they would toss it back. And again, you have to accept where I am and run with it. And
So that statement that I've been saying a lot in these videos, that we like to idealize where we would love to be, and then we also then have these moments in our life that place us down here. And we talk down to ourselves, or we hear negative comments or whatever. We let it live in our
right,
life. And I've been saying, instead of being here in the bottom or here at the top, why don't you just zoom into where you are, and then you're perfectly in the middle, and you're
right,
perfectly where you're supposed to be. And then from there, you have this great ability to grow, and it's not this major growth; it's just a bit of growth.
right,
Because you're not at the bottom anymore, you're not at the top, but you're still willing to say, hey, I'm the best in the room, so I shouldn't be, so let me go to a better room.
right.
Right? Because I shouldn't be the smartest person in the room. I should be in a room where I feel like I'm learning.
All right, how do you
Um,
make the best? How do you make the best of it? And it goes full circle to that. If you're a static business, you're a dying business. Because I learned a lot from last night, even though I have tons of experience. Number one, right before I went on, I asked the bride, "Are your parents here?" Because I'm thinking of participants. You want to get the bride's parents involved.
of
Yes.
course.
Are they both married to each other still? Yes, they are. Great. The groom, because they might be divorced and remarried and have different spouses, and then I asked the groom, "Are his parents here?" No, both his parents have passed away.
Oh,
Can you imagine how awkward it would have been if I would have said, "Let's get the groom's parents up here," and everybody's like, "Oh, they passed away."
that guy
And
didn't do that research, did he?
yeah, so asking those questions ahead of time didn't lead to me having an awkward situation. And now I know every time I'm in that situation, I'm going to ask, "Are these people here? Can I, would I be able to use these?" And his parents were not there, but his grandparents were.
Were.
And those are the people who raised him. And so I used them. And I didn't even ask, "Are your parents here?" I just said, "Hi, what's your name?" Because I already knew that was the grandmother and got her involved.
Great.
Then it was easy for me to transition into getting the grandfather involved.
Yeah.
And, and so just that was a great learning experience last night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think, like I said, so much of what you're saying, for a kid who might have been 18, 19, 20 years old, it's his first gig, he showed up and he's thinking he's doing one thing and then he shows up for another. This is like the conversation that those kind of people need to hear. Like even professional people who have been in the business for years and years, it's exactly what you said. It's a can-do attitude. It's I'm here. I'm secondary to their moment. It's not about me. It's about me creating positivity and positive energy in this moment, so that when they have a a recollection of the moment. They go, oh man, it was such a beautiful wedding, and and that magician, or that juggler that did that thing. Remember when he threw the ball? Oh man,
Right.
it was so great. And it's an extra added bonus to that day, and that's who
Right.
you are. Because you're not, in essence, and this is going back to where you are on this level of things. You're not David Copperfield. You're not David Blaine. You are,
And you don't want to be. You
and
don't want to be.
you don't want to be, right? You may
You want
want
to
to.
be.
You may want to.
You want to be called Paul Carpenter. You want to be Jamie Salinas. You want to be who you are and figure out how that works, and the best of your abilities. Make use of your best attributes and downplay the parts that you're not so great at, and that's how you excel. And every single performance, no matter how long you've been performing, should be a learning experience. I always ask my fellow performers, I had a gig last night. What'd you do? Oh, I performed here. And what did you learn? And sometimes they look at me like, what do you mean? What did I?
To learn
Yeah,
something while it's
yeah.
working?
What
What do
did
you
you
mean?
learn? What did you learn? Did you learn a line didn't work? Why didn't it work? Did you learn a line did work? Why did it work? What happened that was different in this situation? What went really well? How do you keep that momentum going? Those are the things that if you pay attention, you're going to just, even if it's just a slight increase in performance, that's what you want. And that's the same thing in life. It's the
Yeah.
same thing with what you do every day.
I have a story that's somewhat like that. When I was at MGM at the Beau Rivage, I got to do 2 seasons there. And I was doing 8 shows a week, and I was opening basically for Bello Knock. He was Bello the clown who has
Mhm.
big, like,
Mhm.
he had his own thing with, it was called Bellabration for years with Ringling Brothers and Barnum. And the manager of the location that I worked out had created a show with another producer, and Bello was the main act. And so to open up that show, I was outside in the courtyard area of the hotel, and I would put on a show for about 200 to 300 people a day. And we were doing 8 shows a day, or 8 shows a week. So 2 on Fridays and 2 on Saturdays, like a matinee and an evening show, which was always an hour before the show that was out there. And then we would pass out tickets as our way to give more people to go to the show, right? So
Mhm.
give them something free and maybe they'll pay. But, in my second season, and mind you, I had to audition each one of my shows, all the lines, everything I was going to use, every bit, to the vice president, to the entertainment director, to the wife and the kids of the VP. And I performed it just for them. And I had done the show for 6 weeks. Now, on a side weird note, was at night, I would work around at the clubs. And I would do magic, and I was hanging out with a customer, right? We were at the nightclub, and we had walked out of what was the security area between what would be considered casino and hotel.
Mhm.
And we literally walked and stopped right here. And the guy went to go feel for his wallet because he saw somebody else show their wallet while they were walking in. And he goes, "Oh man, I lost my wallet." So he goes, "Oh, I'm going to run back in," and the security guard stops him. Now I'm in garb with my Beau Rivage, sign that says "Magical Concierge of the Beau Rivage," which was my title there.
Mhm.
And I go, "Oh, I'm with him, and I was just here, and I'm working, and I'll walk him back." And she goes, "No, he can't go in there." And I go, "Okay, no problem, I'll go." So I walk, I come back, and by the time I come back and I don't find his wallet, there's now the head of security there, and he's like, "What's the issue? This, that, and the other." Come to find out, the guy never had his wallet on him, and his wallet was in his room because he was staying at the hotel.
Mhm.
The girl got fired on the spot because she allowed somebody into the casino without having his ID being shown, and they had to watch the cameras, and it became a thing. So the next day at my show, there's the security guard with a little pad of paper and a pencil, and he's writing down, I don't know what, right? Because I'm in performance mode.
Mhm.
And right after that performance, I get a call from the entertainment director, and he's like, "Hey, you need to come to the office." And I'm like, "Okay." Because, some people have been complaining about some parts of your act, and we need you to take this piece out, this piece out, this piece out, and you can't do this anymore. And I'm like, "Oh, well, that's not easy to fix. You just took away like 20 minutes of a 45-minute show, you know?" I'm going to go run downstairs and figure out another 15 to 20 minutes to put back on so that I have a 45-minute show. So he goes, yeah, go do that and then do your show and then come back to me. And I go, okay. So I run down, I'm in my green room going through every trick I could think of.
Right.
This is only 5 minutes. Can I extend this? What can I do? I'm going crazy. So I go back out. I do my second show. He brings me up to the office and he goes, how do you feel about it? And this goes to what you were saying a second ago. Like, man, I've only done it once. So it's kind of hard to tell you how I feel about what my old canned act was and this new thing that I just created. Because even if there's some pieces that are the same, it's a total new piece of art that I just created over here that's not the same as this piece.
Right.
So it's hard for me to determine how good or how much better or if it's worse yet. I'm going to have to perform it a bunch of times because through each performance, I'm definitely going to understand what fits, what doesn't fit, what timing I need to stop at, where I need to come back, all of the little nuances to make it feel like a whole rainbow, if you will, of emotions and roller coaster and the whole thing that you want a magic show to be. Like a hypnosis show, you want to show all of the amazing things that your mind can do when you just allow yourself to be in a place of allowance, right? Of imagination. And so I do the show, I do the thing, and then I go to my room, and this is where I messed up, and I'm more than willing to admit it today. But I went on Facebook and I said, I tagged at the Beau Rivage and I said, someone at the Beau Rivage was unhappy with my performance, so I had to change it. But it's okay because I'm not here for the money. I'm here for the game. Like the game of magic, the game of performance. Calls me up to his office again. He goes, take that off of your Facebook. And I'm like, why? He goes, because that makes us look bad. And I was like, well, you just absolutely changed my act and totally like screwed me over after I've auditioned it, after you guys knew what I was doing, and that's an issue. And he's like, yeah, it really is. And I said, well, I'm an independent contractor. I've never signed a contract with you guys. The only contract I have with you is with you and me as management. And man, doesn't feel like you're really working like my manager right now. And he goes, all right, well, you're fired. And I got fired. And I walked out of the building that day, literally like within minutes of that moment happening. Now, I kind of would do it again, Jamie. I know that sounds stupid. I know that might sound like non-corporate in my thinking, but man, oh man, I gave those people 2 amazing years. I gave them my heart and soul. I auditioned it, and just because of something else that had nothing to do with me, where I was trying to be my best in the moment, I get screwed for it. I'd rather walk away and not work with those people, honestly, in the end, because that's going to happen later on. If that happened then, it's definitely going to happen later on. When we had projects, and I'll show them to you if you'd like, but we had designs for me to do a stage show. I was going to have a flying car. I was going to stop time.
Well, you learn from these experiences.
100%. And like I said, I made a mistake. I should have said, you know what, you're right. Let bygones be bygones. I'll take it off of my thing and go to work the next day. And I would have still had a job, and I'd probably still be working for MGM to this day.
Well, I have several major companies that are slow payers, and I'm not afraid to say their names. Memorial Hermann Hospital System is one of them, and right now they owe me money from a July show. And they assured me I'd be paid in the next 2 weeks. But I told them, I said, well, and they said, we want you for a couple of more events. And I said, that's not a problem. However, keep in mind, you have to pay in advance, because you're on my list. I will not come. I will not show up. I will not send you a contract until you pay everything 100% in advance, because this takes too much of my time, my effort to be chasing around payments. And I said, I'm sure you can understand if your company goes to a restaurant and they're not going to wait around 4 or 5 months for payment. You're going to have to pay them that night. I take credit cards. I take all these forms of payments, so you can pay me up front. It'll be no problem. But you have to pay 100% up front. And I have a handful of customers that are like that now, and they do pay up front. They get it.
I've always done like a 58% advanced and then 50 a day of. Like that's just always been my way of going. Like I
Sure.
won't perform otherwise. Do you not play that game?
I do
Call it
take a
game.
deposit. I do take a
Okay.
deposit. And sometimes these major companies will call you, like this one called me with less than a week to go, and that's why there was no deposit, and it took a long time to get payment. But
Mhm.
but now they're on that list. But one of the other questions you asked me is, who am I? How did I get into the magic career? Well, for me, I was 19 years old and I was driving around the streets of San Antonio. We used to go to San Antonio a lot, go to the clubs, go to the bars when I was younger. I'd go to Austin, do the same thing with friends. We just spend the weekend, go just clubbing and having a great time. And there I am in the market square, and there's a guy named Mario performing street magic. I don't remember anything else. I don't remember his last name. I just remember Mario, and he was a Hispanic guy, go figure, in San Antonio. And I remember him doing the sponge balls, and everybody's screaming. And the next week, I was back in Houston, and I went to the comedy showcase, the one that used to be on. Wait, let me think about it. The one that was on West Gray. I think that was a comedy showcase, but I'm not sure. It was one of the comedy clubs there in Houston, and it was my birthday, and they used me on stage. It was Becky Blaney, and she performed the invisible deck for me. And it was me. I'm the one who named the card, and it was the one reversed in a pack of cards. I mean, just blew me away. And then the following week, I'm driving around the streets of Houston, and I see a sign that says Frankel's Costume and Magic. So I make a U-turn. I go inside, and I meet a guy named Brian Brusselback working behind the counter. I describe this whole incredible event with the sponge balls. I describe the trick with the card, with the one card reversed that I named. And Brian's standing there like, oh yeah, because it's old, tried and true material. And so I bought a box of sponge balls, a little pamphlet booklet on sponge ball magic, and I asked him how much was the deck of cards, the invisible deck. He said it was $8. And I'm like, $8 for the world's greatest card trick? I'll take two. So I bought two decks. I didn't know the secret. And so I get out to the parking lot and I immediately open it up and start reading the instructions. And I thought it was great. So a couple of days later, I performed the invisible card trick for some friends, and they're blown away. And they're like, what else can you do? That's it. There's nothing else. I can't do anything else. So then I had to go back to the magic shop, and I started buying some more magic. And so it became fun. It became, hey, it's one of those things when you're like a kid, and it's like, hey, look what I can do.
Yeah.
Hey, you can't do it. And I started doing it, and I started performing, and I was working part time. I would work full time, and then work and go to school part time, and then the next semester I would switch. I would go to school full time and then work part time. So I was co-oping. I'm in the Houston area. My degree is computer science. I'm working at IBM. I'm working on the Space Station Freedom Project on site at NASA. First job. I mean, how cool is that? So at lunch, I'm going to the local shops, and there's a guy who owns a mom and pop restaurant, and I perform the invisible deck for him. I perform sponge balls,
This is so
and I do
great.
this every week. I show him this trick because I would eat there once or twice a month, so every week or so I'd show him a trick, and he would, after about 2 or 3 weeks, he says, "Hey, we have a family night here on Thursday nights where kids get a special price on food and stuff. It'd be great if you could come in and perform some magic at the tables."
Out of here, Jamie. Get out of here, Jamie.
So I've only been performing for about a year, just hobbyists buying tricks at a shop, and they approach me and say, "Can you work at our restaurant?" So I make this deal. I work every Thursday night, and I go table to table, and I learned. And then I found out that one of the best books on magic was called The Strolling Magician by Scott Hollingsworth, and that he was one of the pioneers of restaurant magic. And he lives in Houston. And so I thought,
this is such a good story.
let me look up this guy. So I called him up, and he's the entertainment director at Magic Island. He tells me, come as my guest. I go to Magic Island, and I know like a year's worth of magic. And he says, I stay out of the way. I watched all the shows. I had a great time. Afterwards, I bought his book. He signed it for me and everything. And then he says, hey, we're going to go grab some drinks after the club closes here. You want to join us? Sure. We go to a little bar. We stay there till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning because the bar closes. And we stayed with the employees, just drinking and hanging out after hours. And he says, hey, of course, it was a little bit of the alcohol. I was very polite. I'm buying stuff from him. And he says, we might have a need for a backup performer every now and then. Would you be interested? Of course.
Oh, my God, Jamie.
So then a week later, I get a call saying, hey, this guy's sick. He can't make it. You need to wear a black tuxedo, blah, 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 this and that. I went out and bought a tuxedo, spent more money than I got paid, and went and performed. And it was very basic stuff, but I was very personable because of the restaurant, and I had that performing experience, and it went well. And then I filled in about 3 months, every now and then somebody left, and then I got hired full time, and then I worked there for 12 years. So, and the beauty of working there.
If this isn't at all like the Larissa story, where she was just a fan of something, she started hanging out at the right places with the right people, and then all of a sudden they were like, hey, you're doing this thing that we're doing, and why don't you hang out with us? And then before you know it, you just filled in, and it became like, what an amazing, absolute journey, bro.
Now
what
listen
a
to
cool
this.
journey.
It gets even better. Before working at Magic Island, before filling in, before buying that book, a lady at the restaurant says, hey, do you have a business card? And I hand her my little business card with the little bunny and the hat sticking out, because back then when you ordered business cards, it wasn't this online stuff. It was a print shop. And then they had these icons, and that was the only magic icon it was. So I got it, a little clip art, and it was put on the business card, my name and phone number. And so she called me and says, hey, we have this party coming up. It's going to be in River Oaks. It's going to be for this celebrity, and he's also a magician. And we want you to come. We want you to come and perform, because then it'll take the heat off of people asking him to perform. Okay, great. How many people are going to be there? There's like a couple of hundred people at this house, and I'm like, I can't handle that by myself. So I called Brian at the shop, because there's not very many people I know. And Brian's the guy behind the counter, and I tell him about it, and I hire him, and I hire another friend named Jay Schwausch, and it lives in Houston.
Wow.
So the three of us go to this party, and the party is for Harry Anderson. So I've been performing table hopping for less than a year, and there I am in River Oaks performing at a party. Harry Anderson, he's on Night Court. He was at the peak of his career. Harry's really nice. He comes around, talks to me. He watches me perform a little bit. And then he says, hey, tomorrow night, I'm performing at this place called Jones Hall. It's for charity, and I'm only going to do my 45-minute comedy act. And we need a little bit of extra time. Would you mind doing 5-10 minutes before I come on?
Shut up. So he didn't ask any of the other magicians that were there. He asked
me. Yes.
Oh, and my God, Jamie, what a story, bro.
And so my first paid job, and that led to me performing in what is Jones Hall, 2,000-seat theater, 3,000-seat theater, something like that. And opening for Harry Anderson.
A year and a half of magic. Right. You just got into magic.
Right. And so I did my 6 or 8 minutes up front, and it went really well. After the show, I'm in the lobby, because I wanted, Harry's out there signing autographs, and I'm going to get in line to get his autograph. And as I'm standing there, some people come and ask me for my autograph, and I get this big crowd of people around me, and so I'm like, hey, this is the job for me. And that was before Magic Island.
Oh, Jamie.
Yeah. So place,
I have a Harry
time.
Anderson story. Have I ever told you my Harry Anderson story?
No. I know you're in New Orleans now, so tell me.
Yeah, it starts off, I was about 28 years old, and I had just been put into Ripley's Believe It or Not. for bending forks, right? And so I then I had met this girl, and she was a dancer of the night, call it. And she goes, let's go to New Orleans. I'm like, yeah, let's go. That'd be great. So we get there, and I'm asking around for a magic store in New Orleans. And somebody goes, oh, there's a guy who has one. It's over here. It's Harry Anderson. And I'm like, Harry Anderson from Night Court has a magic store in New Orleans? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm going. So I go over, and I walk in, and it's an oddity shop. And it's the mermaids and this, that, and the other. And there's this beautiful blonde woman who ends up being his wife. And she's like, oh, the magic's over there. And so I just go, and it's one glass counter, and it's all magic tricks from like the 1950s, the wood duck, like an original wood duck, prediction, and just all these really cool little wooden toys. And then like out of like a 1950s movie, you hear the door open and a bell ring. And I'm looking straight down into this case, and I just hear this man say, so you like magic, huh, kid? And I do the slow pull up, and I see Harry Anderson. And I'm like, oh, my God, you're Harry Anderson. He's like, yep, sure am. So I spent the next 3 hours selling magic at a store with him. Like, we just went at it. And any person who walked up to the counter, I just started selling them. And he's like, man, you're really good at this. Have you done this before? And I was like, yeah, I've worked at Magic Max. I've done this. I've done that. And he's like, oh, man, I would really love to have you work here at the store. And I'm like, man, that'd be like an actual gift, and he goes, why don't you come to my show? So I go to Oswald's Speakeasy. I go see a show. And at the end of the show, he brings me up to his office. And at this point, I had shared some DVDs that I had at the time when a while back on the internet, you could collect a bunch of books and stuff that were mentalism that were really hard to find. I mean, I'm talking supremely hard to find, 20 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. And so I had a collection of stuff, and I'd given it to him, and he was like amazed at like all the, DVDs and that I'd collected. We're talking Corinda, we're talking like everything, like the library of mentalism, if you will, and magic. I think Road College was in there. It was just a collection of everything. And I didn't want to like sell it to him. I just wanted to give it to him. And he was like, he got mad at me. He's like, dude, I can't believe you're giving away all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, it's between you and me. I'm not sharing it. I don't give this to anybody else. And this was just for you, And so he takes me up to his office after he's done. And he sits me down on this couch, which like envelops me. And he's walking away. And I go, oh, so is this the moment where I ask you to be your apprentice? And he stops mid-stop. And he turns and he goes, you know what? No one's ever asked me. And I was like, what? There's no way. And he's like, yeah, man. He goes, and so we go back downstairs and we have a little bit of a conversation. He goes, look, if you're serious about being my apprentice, show up with all of your stuff and a place to live, and I'll let you in the door. So I go back to Houston and tell the stripper girlfriend that we're going to move to New Orleans. She's totally about it. And she's working at the Hustler. And then I show up at the end of one of his shows with my Explorer packed to the brim with all of my stuff and stuff on top. And I park it right at the doorway. And he's sitting down. And I go, Harry Anderson. He looks at me, he goes, Paul Carpenter. And I go, yep. And I go, I'm ready. And he looks at my truck, just brimmed, and he goes, I'll see you on Monday. And spent 3 months with him every day at his store. And I did 30 shows with him where I would set up the show and clear up the stage at the end of the show. And it was probably one of the most amazing experiences. I didn't learn any magic at all. I just heard his stories and how he came to be. And man, it was such a magical experience to get to be even with him and hang out with him, and sit there and get to print the cards that he used for, his tricks, and cut the dollar bills that he had, what he was using, his dollar bill effect trick where you take out the middle and it's still a dollar bill. So it was just great, man. It was just great to be there and be part of that. And to hear your story of how just the weird connection that we have with Harry Anderson.
Yeah.
You know, and he was such a giving guy. He was such a wonderful, loving man. He really was. To kind of move away from that, you've also recently started doing like a show at home, if you will, like a private group for magicians that talks about like magic, but in a way where I even expressed it recently. I was like, it feels like I'm in a magic store where you're
Right.
literally taking the trick out of the box. You're showing every single aspect of the trick. You're giving away all the secrets, but you're only doing it to those who are quote unquote vetted, and you're not necessarily ruining anything for anybody, because the truth is, if they want to do the trick, they have to buy the effect. Specifically
Right.
speaking of the last effect that you had, which was a gimmick that you have to buy. You can't go make that
Right.
gimmick. I mean,
Right.
you actually talked about making that gimmick, as a matter of fact, with wire
Yes.
and a rubber band, I think. So I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
yeah,
in
you
my
can
hand
go
right
make
here,
it,
but I'm
right?
not going to put it
No, no, you don't.
in screen
You
because
don't
we're public here. Yes.
yeah, no,
It's in
no
my
need to
hand though.
do it.
Oh, look,
Yeah,
you see.
yeah. Right. No, but so my what was your impetus on doing that? Why did you start? What was the reasoning for it?
Sure, like a lot of people, I thought, you know what, this would be fun. It's I could others can benefit from the knowledge that I have, the experience that I've gotten, just like the event you and I talked about last night that I worked. You know, what did I learn from performing there? You know, those kind of things. Every performance is a learning experience, and I started making YouTube videos, and I found that you have to be number one, consistent. Number two, you have to have good content. You got to have some production value, and it became a lot of work.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a lot of work. And after doing it for about a year, I didn't have a huge following. It was okay. And there's a lot of restrictions because it's public. It's a
Mhm.
public space, just like we're in right now.
Mhm.
And so there's some things I couldn't talk about, things I could. But, you know, I started thinking about it and I thought, you know, I really want to share more, but I can't. And then with
Mhm.
Facebook having private groups, I thought, well, that might be the way to go. And then I've been a dealer at several conventions, but not been a and not and never had a shop, never had an online shop. So I decided, let me go that route. I started an online shop, invested some money, bought a bunch of magic products wholesale, and then I resell them. But ever, you know, there's a lot of people doing that. So I wanted to be different.
Mhm.
So the way I'm different is I only sell stuff that I like or that I use. So it's my choice to sell it. So I thought, well, my choice. So I decided to call it Choice Magic, and
Boom.
that's what the site is called. ChoiceMagic.shop is the website. It's not a huge site as far as it supplies. I'm not Vanishing Ink. I don't sell everything. I'm not Penguin. Every week I don't have something shiny and new, although we all love shiny and new. Even I like buying stuff. I mean, I've got stuff on order coming in, you know, from other places that will be in, and I like to diversify my performing repertoire, but maybe something that I want to play with, and just for my own benefit, you know,
Have
to
you
it helps
played
me
with
grow.
Have you played with Leviosa, the new packet card trick? I don't know
Uh,
if it's a packet card trick, but
yes
uh,
and no. I did play with that. I would, you know, of course, I got several of those in. It was one of the hottest selling items, and I thought, am I really going to use this, or is this really a toy for me? And at
mhm.
that point, it was more of a toy for me. So I just sold all of them. I didn't keep one for myself. I let all my customers have one. It is a very good product. It is using a material, we'll just call it IT, that's kind of, you have to have a little bit of experience using it. It's not as forgiving as other magic is. But anyway, and so those are the kind of things that I carry. And
Right.
not everything makes it into my performances, but just because I don't like something to put in my show doesn't mean it's not good enough for you.
Right.
People ask me, what's the best peak wallet? Well, it's the one that you're comfortable and use the best. That's really the answer.
Yeah.
For me, Paul, what kind of pie do you like?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I depends on the situation and the place, but I like key lime pie.
Key lime. Okay, that's okay. I like lemon, but you know, that means that we have different tastes, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's the whole thing, is is what works for me doesn't necessarily work for you, that kind of thing. And then by creating the private Facebook group, I can tell you more about the product, because right now the hottest product, and I've got one here, only one left, and I'm not trying to sell this because this is already sold.
Right.
This is not for sale. Look at this. This is one
What
of the hottest selling items right now.
what is this, Dex? What is this?
Okay, Dex is, I'm going to talk in code since we are public, but it allows you to, somebody name a card, and out of your pocket, you can immediately pull out the named card. I mean, with a super lightning
Ooh,
fast
okay. Okay,
situation.
so
So
it's
so
a what's the name of this? So it has a
well,
system in your pocket of some
yeah,
sort.
yeah. The name of
Right.
it
Okay.
is
Immediately.
part
Boom,
of
boom.
the secret,
Mm,
so that kind of gives you an idea.
yeah.
But the beauty is, I even though I will probably never perform this, I like
Mm,
the product. It's well made. It's well thought out, and so it's something I carry.
hmm
But I will go into my private Facebook group and I will tell you all about it. Here's the pros, here's the cons, and
Right. Sure.
if I can, I'll take it out of the box and show it to you, and I'll show you what you're getting, because I want you to make an informed decision. Because oftentimes when we go to buy a secret, we don't know enough, and then when we buy something, we find out this is not for me. Last night I performed. I had people to my extreme right, my extreme left, 180-degree, virtually almost surrounded performance.
hmm
And there's some material you can't do surrounded. And there's some you can. Some you can take advantage of your body, whatever. And so that's what you have to work with, where you are. If I have an effect that it is angle specific, I need to know that.
hmm
And sometimes you don't know these things. And I would much rather you be a happy customer than somebody who bought something and said, "Oh yeah, I can't use this. It has this limitation," and I stick it in the drawer and I'm done with it. But if Jamie told me all the pros and cons, and I bought this with an informed decision, then hey, I'm
It's
going
on.
to listen to this
It's
guy.
on me.
Yeah,
It's on me at that point. Right.
and I'm
Exactly.
more likely going to buy from someone who's upfront with me. I had someone try to buy something, a local friend, and I said, "Don't buy this. It's not for you." And
Wow.
it's not because I would have made pretty good money off of him selling him this item he wanted. And I told him, this is a better route for you.
Hmm.
And I made 15 bucks off of it.
Right.
So, but
But for
he
you, it's not about the
appreciated,
money, really,
he
right? I mean,
appreciated the fact that I know his performing style. I know his limitations. And I said, this is not for you. And he made a better informed decision, and he'll be a longer term customer.
right.
So
Right.
that's what I'm going after. And it's a fun thing to do. I'm shipping out about 6 to 8 packages a day. Not a high
Nice.
volume,
No, but you're
not
doing
a high
well.
volume,
I mean,
but
that's
it
good.
adds
I
up.
mean, look, even if you're only making $10 off of each package, that's $60, $70 a day in your pocket that
Right.
you're getting to do the thing that you love. You're getting to see new products that you might have not touched before that you
The kid in
want
the
to.
candy store.
Exactly, bro. I mean, it's so
Yes.
great, and you're getting to be, and you're a kid that's getting paid to be in the candy store. So it's
Yes.
like, hello,
Yes. Now,
yeah,
now I'm also making a few decisions of products based business wise. Like, for example, this item that I just showed you, look at the size of this box.
Mhm,
I have a
mhm.
cardboard box. It cost me like 30 cents. It fits in the box. I know this is going to ship for about $4 or $5. So I already know my cost for shipping on this is going to be roughly $5. $5 to ship this. So I do free shipping for anything over $30 because I
Nice.
can't compete
With
with the
anybody
other
else,
people if I don't do
right?
that.
Right.
But if I carry stuff like this that fits in a box, it costs me $5. It makes my profit margin better. Products like this, they fit in a bubble envelope. That's $3, $4 for shipping plus the envelope. I mean, so those are the kind of things I carry. This just happened to be in front of me, by the way.
No,
It
yeah,
wasn't
and
wasn't
also,
a setup.
it reminds me of a post that was recently in, I believe, SME Magic or All Magicians, and basically it was, hey, I want to do a show, and I want to four-wall it, and can I get some advice? And one of the best answers was, any kind of advice that you get off of this post is so wrong. Like, this is not going to help you in any way, shape, or
Right.
form. and it goes to the same kind of idea of what you're doing. Like when you want to start an online shop, even
Start small.
you have to think of the EBITDA of all the little things that you have to pay for: your taxes, your shipping,
Right.
your the stamps,
Time and money, the gas. Yes.
the gas,
Yes.
all of it, and also
Right.
where are you going to get a better deal from? Who, what supplier are you going to grab from? All of that.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes its own bubble in your own life, like another
Right.
thing. Its own, like it's its own business. It has nothing to do with magic and you going to corporate events and performing for whoever, and
Right.
it's a
Right.
totally different thing. So it's like,
Well,
that's
see,
something I'd like to talk about. I'm very impressed with people who can do what you're doing, Jamie.
well, see that
Like,
that's
not
only
only
that's only one piece of it, of
no,
making the.
what I want to get at is, not only are you a father, not
Mhm.
only do you have a job working for the city and doing, and doing this managerial kind of experiential work, not only are you working as a magician, not only are you having a store, not only are you also at times the president and working with TAOM, and we're going to talk about that here in a second, and the convention and all that, if you don't mind. But
Sure.
ugh, hello, so much, and yet me, I would be a ball of, I feel like I would be a ball of stress, and yet you're this like super very Buddhist kind of character, which is like, yeah, it's okay, all is well,
I love to be in the middle of the action, and I don't know. I just we can talk about a bunch of different stories, but the other thing about the group that I wanted to say before we move on is I didn't want it to just be a shop just about selling and me being a nice guy of saying, hey, this is what I recommend, here's for you or here's not for you. I'm also spotlighting other creators. I had Rolando Medina on. Rolando is a craftsman who makes gimmick coins. He makes all kinds of stuff, and we featured him, and it generates some sales, and now people know who he is. I have Steve Valentine coming up in a next month, so I'm spotlighting different creators, stuff of people that I don't sell their material, but to me it's worthy of taking a look at, and you need to know these people, and so that's why I'm
Now,
showing.
are you taking any of the spotlight stuff that you're doing with them and making somewhat of a video like I'm doing right now? Like,
We
because I
do.
know I'll post
Yeah.
this on YouTube, right? And I'll take all of the stuff that you gave me. So anytime anybody looks you up, this
Right.
video is going to pop up, right?
Right.
So,
Well, it's only
and
it's
I
only in the
love
group.
that. I love that for you. I love that for me. But I love that for you because I believe that you can take bits and pieces of this, hour long or 2 hour long, however long it ends up being, and you can grab little pieces of it and use it as social media,
Right.
on some level.
Right.
I mean, granted, there's trees in the background, but whatever.
Yeah. No big deal. It's a pretty informal chat. I mean, I'm in my room. I got my guitar case. I got some hippity hop rabbits up here. What else do I have?
I like
It's
the fact that
Copperfield.
I like the fact that I've made this so non-formal.
Yeah.
Where, because I feel as though when you see trees in the background and you just see me sitting in a rocking chair, on some level there's like this kind of feeling that comes over you where it's like, oh, I'm just talking to Paul on the phone. It's not really a live feed to people who are watching right now,
Right.
like it.
Right.
And so I feel as though it makes it just much more like a dance, where we're dancing in the conversation as if we were just having a regular phone
We're
call.
just hanging out. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Right.
the other goal with the group is to make it unlike other groups. I mean, there are other people who are selling hand-picked magic, and that's really what I'm doing. But I'm creating a community, and it's not always about the sale. It's about knowledge. It's about increasing your performance capabilities. It's about making you a better performer all around. Because if you get better, it makes our whole industry better, makes me better, makes people more likely to use magic as an entertainment art form. And I think it just puts everything in a much better positive light instead of all about making a profit. And of course, when everything comes said and done, you do have to be profitable.
Right.
And so it's like when I four-walled a show for 2 years at the Hilton Americas downtown Houston, and I would four-wall a banquet room and feature all these different performers, and that quite honestly was by design for it to be a learning experience. So if I reach retirement age or reach a certain point in my life when I say I want my own theater, I know how to run one. I know how ticket sales go. I know how to get people in the seats. I know how to create the buzz. And I know that I could hire a lot of famous magicians that we know. The general public doesn't know who they are. And I learned how to hype those people up and so to generate ticket sales. So sometimes you just have to do a little research and just jump right into it. Start
Yep.
small with whatever it is you want to learn, and you'll learn and grow. And that's just anything.
As a matter of fact, for those who are watching, if you're enjoying this, the next episode is going to be with Lanny Kibbe, who's in Houston, Texas, and he did exactly just that. He opened up his own a magic location and a theater, and he's been open for now a year and a half, and he's doing quite well. And tomorrow we're going to get to talk to him, so I'm super excited about tomorrow's episode as well. We get to do a walkthrough. He's going to do a walkthrough of the place with me, which is going to be fun. So let's, if you don't mind, let's get into because what an amazing story, first of all, right? I just started in 19, the Harry Anderson thing. I'm already performing on stages 2,000 deep. It's like, what? Like bang, 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 you know?
Right.
I'm at the Magic Castle. I'm working for other people, and then all of a sudden I get filled in, and then I'm now the guy working there. At what point maybe do you join like the IBM? At what point do you start thinking, hey, I want to be more involved in and at what point did TAOM happen, like the convention? I don't know if you, were you part of that formation and all of that?
Yeah, getting involved with the magic community. A lot of people have a lot of negative thoughts about magic clubs because let's be honest, the local magic club is filled with hobbyist enthusiasts. So if I'm a professional or I aspire to be a professional, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to go to those clubs because they promote bad magic. What do you mean? Well, some guy will go up and do some terrible Tenyo trick, and I'm not picking on Tenyo because Tenyo makes some fabulous stuff, but they'll do a basic
Shout out to Angelo Carbone. Sorry, because he used to work for Tenyo and made a lot of their products. But
I love a few things that I use from Tenyo, but anyway, it's not. I don't mean them as their name. I'm just saying basic, less expensive magic tricks, and they do it poorly, and the rest of the group goes, "Oh, great job, great job." Well, we're encouraging them. So that being we're encouraging bad magic. Well, it depends. It depends on who you are and what you're doing. Those guys live for those monthly events. They live for having that applause and being a part of something bigger than just them. And so for them, it's fine. There are a few people who want to continue to grow. And I tell you what, you can learn a lot from watching bad performances. And then you start thinking, I kind of do that too. And
as a matter of
fact,
I don't know if I've mentioned this to you, but I've been talking to Michael Dardant here in New Orleans about doing a Kill Tony style show. And Tony Hinchcliffe is a comedian, and he has a show now called Kill Tony, where, and I think it's been going on for quite some time now, but it's gotten very popular in the last 3-4 months. And they bring on a comedian, and they say, okay, give us 1 minute, just 1 minute. And it has to be a new minute. It has to be your own pattern, your own thing. And I'm thinking of doing the same thing with magic. Like, bring on 5 different magicians for a show and say, just give us 1 minute. It doesn't have to be great. Just give us a minute.
Right.
And we'll tell you what we think as professional magicians or as people who are, super hobbyists or whatever. And maybe we have a guest judge like yourself or, whoever. From the magic community who comes on and says, hey, I think you could have done this better, or have you ever thought of doing this with the effect, or instead of this, maybe that, and then build the community in that manner instead of just applauding them and saying, oh, it was great. Be like, hey, have you ever thought of using that Tenyo effect, but then adding something on top of it which makes the thing different, or painting the Tenyo different colors that makes it more fit your vibe? I don't know. There's a lot of things you could do, like just that alone, that could make the magic more yours almost in a Bizarro style, right? Bizarro does amazing magic effects that are just normal, regular. Like, he does a great ball splitting routine, but he does it with crumpled up
paper.
No, he does it with with tape.
Oh yeah.
He does a phenomenal routine where he
Hmm.
comes up and his box is broken and he gets some tape and he fixes it. And he pulls out, and then that becomes a multiplying tape routine, and then that turns into him rolling up a ball, and then that turns into a multiplying ball routine. And I mean, I'm just like sitting back going, oh, what great transitions! What
Right.
great reason for
Right.
why this happened and why this had to happen, and that's going back to, I think, a conversation we weren't having live, but when we were talking about Jeff McBride and silent magic, and that school of thought that brings something very ethereal to your performance when you're not talking. And I've seen you do it. You put on the
Hmm.
music and you do a bit, and there's something magical about not talking and yet seeing somebody do something, and there's some weird thing that's happening there. What are your thoughts on that? Like, what do you feel that is? Or
Well, I wanted to finish up too some thoughts on the Magic Club scene too,
yeah, please, sorry.
because if you are open-minded, if you really pay attention, you can learn from somebody who just started last week. You can learn from somebody who just been performing for the last 60 years of their career. I mean, there's so many gems you can learn. Like the other day, Bill Palmer, local guy who's retired and was Merlin the Magician. He said, and I'm going to abbreviate, what his quote was, but it was something along the effect of about scripting. He said, I used to just bullet point what I was going to say, and I would go out there and wing it. And then I got a director, a performing art director, and I learned that every word is a jewel, and I need to display every piece of jewelry in the show. So everything has to have a purpose, and I thought everything must be stated as, it has to be well thought out. And he's absolutely right. That's kind of how I do because I write better or differently than I really speak. So I tend to bullet point. What I do is I come up with a script and I say it and I record myself. And then I play it back and I say, I like this, but I don't like that. And then I'll go back and say it again and make some tweaks as I'm driving to somewhere or whatever. And that's how I develop my own scripting because I like hearing my voice, how I say it, as opposed to the way I write. So
Right.
it works for everybody, doesn't, can be differently. But back to the clubs, being part of something, and people go, oh, I don't want to be a part of something bad, because all they do is promote bad magic. Well, then you be the change. You be that inspiration to make them become better instead of just sitting back and making fun of people, not participating. So I've really been a little more active. And because I like to be in the middle of the action, I have taken on those leadership roles and organized clubs and ran conventions, and you're putting out fires. And um, the home I'm in right now. A few years ago, we had Hurricane Harvey hit, and Hurricane Harvey came. My house was flooded. We're here in the house. Water's rising. It's coming in, and there really was no plan. And then
Wow.
some volunteers came the next morning as it rained all night in airboats and started. I could hear the airboats.
Wow.
So I put on my rain gear. I went out in the water and I found these guys who were brought all these airboats to get everybody out of the neighborhood. And I said, what's the plan? They said, we don't have a plan. And I said, okay, let me get you a list. I'm going to find out all the people in this neighborhood and I'm going to sort them. I'm going to sort them by people with elderly people, people with children, people with physical disabilities, so we can get them out first. The able-bodied people like me and my family, we can wait till the end to be, you know,
Picked
taken
up.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went door to door and I made a list. I made a list of who lived where, and when the guys would come with their boats, I would direct them on where to go. This house is next, and I would get everybody. Make sure you have your essentials. Make sure you have overnight clothing, and and bagging, and that I organized all that. Once
Yeah.
we got all the people out of the neighborhood, we went to a courthouse down the street, down the road, and we get to the courthouse. The courthouse was not flooded, but the water in the streets were starting to get flooded. And I was one of the last people out of my neighborhood to leave. So I get to the courthouse, and there's only 3 county employees. And I asked them. There was a sheriff outside. who's directing traffic and people coming in, being dropped off with their animals and family and everything. And I asked the guy, "What's the plan?" Well, you have no plan. You have no plan. So I asked for some volunteers. So I got this lady and I said, "I want you to make a list of all the families and put how many in their group." And I said, "Don't ask them, but figure out if they have elderly children, we're going to prioritize them, because they need more assistance." And then I said, "If you have dogs, we're going to put you on this side. If you have cats, we're going to put you on that side." This natural to separate them, because it was all a big mix and it was loud and crazy. And so I just started organizing. Once we got people situated, then I told the guy, "The water's rising. We got to get out of here. How are we getting out of here? We don't know." So I said, "What about school buses?" So they called one of the local schools, and we got every coach.
I'm a bit taken aback at this story, at the fact
I'm the one who's organizing all this.
No, but you also, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm taken aback by. First of all, guy who has nothing to do with anything.
Right.
With anything, no offense, but is now the guy who's like, I mean, it's almost out of a movie. You're almost
Right.
like the Liam Neeson character who just came in. People don't know what they're doing. He's like, "Don't worry, I got you. Let's take care of this." And
We
he
got to
starts
do
doing
something. Yeah.
No, I know that, but for all the people who have conspiracy theories about this, that, and the other about what happened recently in Hawaii, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this goes to show, this story right here goes to show that people don't know what's going on. Like, and that they're just doing what they're told to do on some
Right.
level. Like, okay, go to the courthouse, just take care of the traffic and find out.
Right.
And the guy was like, "Okay, I guess I'm going to the courthouse." He doesn't have a list of, emergency preparedness list on him. And
Right.
he doesn't know what to do. He's just, the lieutenant told me to show up, so I'm here.
Well, here's the funny thing.
There, guy.
The guys
don't
in
go
the
crazy,
boats.
people.
The guys in the boats were 100% volunteer. They just have airboats, and they happen to be living in the area. Number two, where they took us to, there were people with four-wheel drive trucks, big trucks, and they just volunteered to come and take people to the courthouse. So they took us from that point to the courthouse. And then at the courthouse, I gathered everybody, and we came up with a plan. Buses came, and by the time the last bus left, the bottom of the bus the water was at that level. It was rising, and there was only one road to get out. So we got everybody out just in time. There was a couple of shelters we went to. I went to a big church. Some people went to a bar. I mean, everybody set up these makeshift shelters.
You were literally a godsend.
I mean,
in that moment. I'm not trying to be weird, but that's exactly what you were. You were literally a godsend to the moment. Otherwise, there would have been like this travesty of a moment where all these people are caught at the courthouse. They have no way out. Right. They're flooded,
Right. Because Interstate 10 was totally underwater to one side. The other side was quickly filling up. There was only one road we can get out. We got to get out before it floods. There's no beds. There's no place to sleep here. The water's coming into the building, and it's a one-story building.
Oh, my goodness. It wasn't like a courthouse, like a big courthouse. It was a small
one story. I live in the country. And then when people would come, I was outside carrying people off the buses or trucks and everything. And I ended up with a separated shoulder that took a little over a year to heal. From that, from carrying people. And just, but the thing is, I'm not telling you all this. It's just, it's you have to be organized.
It's a can-do attitude. It goes back to the beginning of the episode. It's can-do attitude.
Yes.
I'm in a situation. I'm going to make this better. Period. Let's start moving now. Right.
That's the whole thing.
No.
How do we make this situation better?
Yeah.
And it's not just in your magic. It's everything. It's everything.
It's in your life. Yeah. It's in your life. How do you make your life better? You make your life better by having a can-do attitude and not having a poopy attitude where everything's poopy. Right. I mean, I even at the end of each one of my episodes, I say it. It's not about you. Go out there and do something for somebody else, because it does. And if you can't do something for somebody else, then do it for yourself, because it starts with you. If you can't be okay with you, you're not going to be able to go out and be okay for others. And that's the same premise as what you were saying, hire slow, fire quickly. I hire slowly because I want to know who you are, what you're about, and I want to see your social media, all of that, right? To get to that place of saying, hey, okay, now I know you a bit better. I feel that you're a Toyota,
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Let's go. Let's jump on the team and let's go. And come to find out the guy's a Porsche and he does more than you ever thought, you know?
Right.
So let's move it on to if you don't mind, because we were talking about the conventions
Mm-hmm.
and magic and being part of it, and this is again part of that can-do attitude of wanting to make the group that you were in better, and that's just, and it wasn't anything more than that. It was just this. I just want to do magic, guys. It's a very kid-like,
Well, here's a
approach.
common thing I hear. Why should I go to a convention? It costs me all this money to get there, then a hotel expense, food expense, the food's expensive, all that. All that is 100% true. Yes, you're going to spend money. Maybe you can't afford to do this very often, but if you save up, if you plan for it, I had never been to Magic Live until the last 2 years, and I absolutely love it. I love it for several reasons, because number one, I see people I haven't seen in 30, 35 years because of Magic Island and my performances and stuff. So that's great. I get inspired. I get motivated to learn and want to be a better magician. And that's it. I mean, that's every convention I've gone to, there's been some part of that has inspired me, or in some way I figure out how can I benefit from this experience? Who can I learn from? Who can I be inspired from? Um, Steve Valentine. I'd never met the guy. Never, I didn't even know who he was. I'm not a big TV watcher. I had no clue who he was. Our entertainment guy hired him, or got him to perform at our convention. Steve's a fantastic creator.
Phenomenal.
He's incredible. He comes up with all these different ideas. Chad Long, I've known him forever. We've had Chad before, but every time I see him, I go, wow, this guy has the energy and just the performance style. I mean, just it's so him.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can be Chad Long.
Right.
And that inspires you to say, well, nobody can be Jamie Salinas. Nobody can be Paul Carpenter. And even though I will never do what Chad does, it's very inspirational.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when I see people like CJ Johnson, who maybe a lot of performers don't know who CJ is, but CJ's a worker. He's a doer. He goes out and does what he loves, and he's always out there working and learning and growing. And those are the kind of people you want to hang around with. I mean, just all these conventions, you just have to figure out, how do I benefit from them?
Mm-hmm.
What can I get out of it? And if you're not paying attention, you're not benefiting, then again, don't go. But I find something to learn in everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know. I mean, I think that you've mentioned that quite repeatedly throughout the thing, that your goal, your mindset, your frame, if we want to get into the NLP talk, is to learn from every situation, grow from every situation, have something that you gain from the moment, and in turn, I think that lends to then being able to have all of these things in your life, as we mentioned, all of these extra things, like, once again, a husband and a wife, your kids, your magic shop, your magic in general, all these things. It tends to allow you to do that, because in turn, you're using each one of those things as a place to learn, a place to grow, a place
Mm-hmm.
to become better. Yeah. What you can't ask for more, really, Jamie. You can't ask for more from a human being. I mean, what more can you ask for from a guy who's willing to, do whatever it takes at all times? It's a beautiful story, man.
Yeah.
What do you have coming up? You have anything new coming up? Like any shows that people could go see, or anything like that? Or do you have anything else you want to talk about? Share some gems?
I do have a local performance coming up. For years I've done a show called The Paranormal Experience, and it's my basically show of bizarre magic, and it's what's worked for me. And I take you on a ghost adventure, a ghost hunt. We look at some haunted artifacts. I tell you, I mean, the opening line of my show is, if you listen, you will hear them.
Ooh.
And then I say it again. If you listen, you will hear them. When a song comes on the radio, when a scent comes across your nose, when any memory of a past loved one makes you remember that loved one, that is them telling you, communicating with you, letting you know they will always be with you in your mind and in your heart. If you listen, you will hear them. Tonight we're going
Wow,
to
so
make contact,
powerful.
and that's
So
how I start off
powerful.
that show. And I let people know expectations up front. We're not going to sit in the dark. We're not going to hold hands in a circle and ask for the spirits to join us and make tambourines levitate and rattle. We're not going to ask for. We're not going to have ghostly apparitions. If that's what you want, you should visit one of the haunted attractions here in the area. But tonight we're going to try to make contact and see who we can make contact with. And it's it's a lot of fun stuff. Keep it a little spooky.
Yeah.
But I will be doing that with Harry Maurer has a production. It's at a restaurant on the north side of town of Houston in the Woodlands area. So it's kind of a distance if you're not in the Houston area, but it's a dinner and show package basically. And so I'll
Well, I
be
mean,
doing
people
that
go
show
to the
coming up.
Renaissance Festival, and that's not in the Houston area, so there's no reason not to go to your
Sure.
thing. You know what I mean?
Sure. So I don't have too many upcoming public performances. I used to do the paranormal experience quite a bit, but my partner who would help me out, my business partner, Scott Wells, has moved, and he would help me at this
Is he
bar
in
called the Carafe.
Vegas
And
now?
now he
Did he
moved
move?
to Georgetown, Texas, close to
Really?
Austin. Yes.
Oh, okay.
He's
Well,
closer to family.
yeah,
He's got
yeah.
some kids he's halfway between them, and so he's moved out there. So I've kind of just kind of relaxed this year, kind of take it easy, but I will probably revamp those up for next year. And my
Is
goal
Scott
is to.
still? Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Is
Oh,
Scott still doing the a booking for lectures?
he is.
And I know you wanted to
Yes.
talk about that as well, because that leads perfectly into the lecture scene.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
for those who don't know, Scott Hollingsworth has been a big guy in the lecture scene, helping other magicians get into the lecture scene and put them in that. So yeah.
Right.
So how did you get into that? It's so funny. You went from a guy who knew no magic whatsoever. You learn one deck of card tricks, gimmick pack that you buy. And then before you know it, you're the guy who's going and running shows, and now you're running around and you're lecturing to other people like you used to go to other shows or lectures and watch. So how does that feel, and what is that like?
Well, I've been a big part of Mindvention. I started attending, and then I became a little more involved, and now I'm one of the people who run the convention. Mindvention it's a combination of, sometimes it's online, sometimes it's in person convention with Danny Archer is the founder and the number one guy of Mindvention, and so I'm just one of his helpers, and it grew into that type role. So that's what I've been doing. But I lectured for Mindvention in person, and it went really well. And I found that people, I guess, want to listen to my experience and some of the things I've learned. And during the pandemic, I did a lot of online Zoom lectures. And so since I'm not a full-time guy, I still could do that. So if you are a club and you want a lecture, I have two different lectures. One is on the paranormal stuff. So that's a little more of a niche market of people that, aren't into the spooky bizarre. But I found a lot of people surprised. Wow, I'm not really into the bizarre stuff, but I love this lecture because of the creativity and the different ideas and that kind of thing. And I have another lecture called Magic and Mentalism. I teach a little bit of both. I start off with a couple of original effects that you learn, and then I teach you how to make mentalism stronger. I'm doing a simple Swami writer where you basically I have a pad of paper, I write something down, and I say, give me a number, and then I turn the pad around, that's the number. Simple, straight effect. But I teach you how to make it a miracle and how to elevate it till it becomes a showpiece and not just think of a number, I write it down, and here it is. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so things like that. And I tell you about cold reading, what I've learned and what I've experienced. And that lecture runs up to 2 hours. The paranormal lecture runs up to 2 hours as well. And sometimes it runs longer depending on how
Sure.
the people are into it. But I can do it in person at a convention. Just started doing some lectures at conventions, so that's been going pretty well, received very well. I just did a convention called Magistorium, and a couple of people said my lecture was the highlight of the whole event for them. So
That's
that's
great.
nice to hear things like
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
of course it
yeah.
is. We're 100%. That's great. So I don't know. I mean, we've covered so much today. Is there anything else that you want to throw out there that's like a tidbit of info, or maybe like another story? I don't anything. Just we could even get way off of the subjects and get off of magic and start talking about like crazy UFOs in Mexico and whatever you want. It doesn't really matter.
Well, I am going to have to
Which
start getting my day ready
yeah,
for
he's like the UFO.
performances and
We're not
stuff
into
too. But
that.
I'll do something quick for you, and I'm
Oh,
and
that was your trick. Please,
I'll
yes, please,
I'll
please.
perform something for you, and this is more to illustrate that the more you know, the more you can create. I'm going to use two methods, and again, this is a public forum, so we're not going to explain any secrets, but I'm going to tell you what you're about to see is a combination of Steinmeier and Tequila Hustler. I forgot the guy's name. So, Paul, do you have an object that you can hold in your hands? Coin. It could be a match. There you go. You got a Sharpie. Okay. Here's what I want you to do. You got two hands. You have one object, the marker. Put it out of camera where I can't see it. Okay. And either put it in your right or your left hand. Okay.
Okay,
Let me know when it's there.
it's there.
Okay. Your first name is Paul. That's Paul. That's only 4 letters. If the marker is in your right hand, you're going to spell Paul, and you're going to pass the marker from one hand to the other for each letter. So it would be Paul. You get the idea. Go ahead and do that now out of the camera where I can't see it. Now, obviously, if it's in your left hand, you would go Paul, and it would end up in a different spot.
Got it.
Okay. So now I want you to think of a number between 1 and 10. You have a number in mind?
Mm-hmm.
Don't say it. If your number is 3, wherever the object is, you'll count in your head, but you'll pass the object. Like if my number was 3, I would go 1, 2, 3. Whatever your number is, go ahead and do that now, passing it
Got
back
it.
and forth. Now I want you
Did
to
it.
think of a color of the rainbow. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. One of those colors. Roy G. Biv, if you remember correctly from school. Spell that color, passing the object back and forth once for each letter.
Got it.
Okay,
Yep.
if it's in your left hand, you're going to spell the word left, L-E-F-T, passing the object back and forth once for each letter. If it's in the right hand, spell the word right, R-I-G-H-T, and let me know when you're done.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Okay, so now the object has been mixed around multiple times. I didn't know where you would start. I didn't know what number, what color, all these different variations on where you would start off from, where could you be. In your mind right now, you're going to decide if you're going to tell me the truth or if you're going to lie to me. Make up your decision. Don't tell me what you're going to do.
Okay. I got it.
You got it. Okay. I'm going to ask you only one question, and I'm going to try to use this medium. I'm going to watch your eyes, watch your body language to see if I can either tell if you're either telling the truth or if you're lying to me. Now, if you are planning on lying to me, I'm going to ask you this one question. Some people stumble with the answer. So here's what I want you to do. I will ask the question, but don't answer it. Think about your answer. Think about if you're telling the truth, you're going to truthfully answer the question. If you're going to lie to me, then you'll tell me a bold-faced lie. I'll ask the question a second time, then you can answer because now you've already formulated your answer and it makes sense, right?
Yep.
Okay. The question is simple. The question is the marker in your right hand? Don't answer. Think of the answer. If you're telling me the truth, tell me the truth. You can tell me a lie, tell me a bold-faced lie. Here we go. Are you ready? Is the marker in your right hand? What's your answer?
No.
Okay. I already know. Paul, sometimes you can be a very good at deceiving people with a small lie, but generally you don't like to tell lies. In fact, you are telling the truth. The object is not in your right hand, it's in your left hand. Hold it up and show it to everybody. It's in your left hand. There you go.
Such a
That's it.
good
That's it.
routine. I
That's
love
it.
that.
It's
It's
simple.
so good.
It's two different methods. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, I take that back. It's one method and two presentations. And
Hmm.
you're
Yeah,
going to be
you
right
took
every
one
single time.
presentation and you took a different method. You put those two together to end up getting the result that
Yes.
you want, and it's
Yes.
phenomenal. It's so
Yeah.
phenomenal. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. I'm gonna use that.
Yeah. Sounds good.
I'm totally gonna. I'm gonna try it out because I love it. I love the dynamics behind it, and I love how it works. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I had actually learned that the name going back and forth at TAOM 2 or 3 conventions ago when it was at Houston, and someone shared that with me there, and I was totally blown away by it. I was like, "Oh, that's so good!" Like when you know, right? It's so devious, but so good.
Yeah.
You know.
It might have been me that shared that
I
with
think
you.
it was actually.
Probably was. Yes.
I think it was actually.
Yeah.
Figure that being in Texas and meeting Jamie at a convention
There you go.
that he has some involvement in where he teaches me an effect. Whoa. Wonder if that could happen
funny.
again. Yeah, right. So good. Jamie, I'll ask one more time. Do you have anything else you want to share with anybody? I know you said you have to go.
Yeah.
We've already been on for about an hour and a half, so it's not like we didn't have a good episode.
Well, I just want to remind everybody, if you do want to purchase some magic, you can go to choicemagic.shop. That's SHOP. You can also look for the Facebook group, and it's Choice Magic. And that's really where you want to start, because I tell you all about the good stuff. We learn from other creators. I tell you what I bought that I think is fantastic. I've got a couple items that are coming in. Sometimes I share advice, sometimes I share thoughts, and it's not just me. I bring in other people too sometimes, and we learn from other people as well.
And that goes for non-magicians as well. For those who are watching this, he's saying the shop is open, man. Go check it out if you're wanting to learn magic.
Facebook group is private.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Well, but you could, like you did, you could in some way, shape, or form end up in that group.
That's true.
Because and so it's just a matter of showing your real, true intention for why you're learning the magic. And once you do that, I think that everybody who is a magician, who because most people don't know this, but the most written about subject in the world is magic and the illusion of magic and how to accomplish that, which is absolutely astronomical in my mind when we are the group of people who say don't share these tricks, and yet we're all writing books on the tricks, which is great, because in the end what it really shows is that you're only going to do it if it really does something for you. You're only going to go learn it because it inspired you in some way, or it shocked you in some way, or it did something like it did for you when the guy did the magic trick and you had to learn, and you saw some store that said magic and you ran in and you bought sponge balls and you bought a gimmick deck, and that's the journey. That is the journey in every sense of the word. So man, Jamie, thank you so much for your time and your energy today. I really appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed your time with me, because I know that everybody who watched they enjoyed their time. Again, thank you so much for coming, man.
Yeah, no problem. I'm probably going to go get my stuff ready for a show today, get cleaned up, and just get ready to figure out what I want to accomplish today.
Yeah. That's a question for you. Have you ever, because I've asked working magicians this, and most of them don't do this. I don't know if you know of one, and if you do, maybe you can send me to it. Do you know anybody who does YouTube-style content that's like Casey Neistat, that shows the day-to-day life of the traveling working magician? No, right? There's not one out there.
Not really. Chris Ramsey's pretty good. Some people, some people have a
But he
love-hate
doesn't.
relationship with him.
No, I love Chris, but his thing isn't like I'm talking about. Like his production value,
Right.
phenomenal. His puzzle stuff, phenomenal. He just did a 2-part awesome thing on a new channel that he created, which is a deep dive into remote viewing.
Yeah,
And
the
he actually
off-beat path.
studied
Yes.
such a beautiful documentary that he made.
Right.
For those who haven't seen it, please go out there and watch it. But yeah, no, I mean in the sense of like a Casey Neistat, like a working magician. I'm thinking like cruise ship magician who's like, okay, guys, I'm at my house and I'm packing up my stuff and
Right.
here I am. Look, I'm on the airplane now. And oh, look, here's the ship. And this is
Yeah, I
my,
don't think there is
entertainment
anybody.
director. There's nobody
But you know
doing
what,
that.
Paul? It's okay because you can watch Casey. You can learn from Casey Neistat. You really can.
Yeah. Oh no, you can. You can learn from any YouTuber to become a better performer, as well as just learning that everything takes. Like I love the line that you said, where Bill Palmer said, I used to wing it, but now I know that every single word is a gem, and I have to.
That's right.
I think
You have to
the
display
line
it
was
properly.
display the jewelry properly, and I was just, like, that's just such a mind
Yes.
blowing moment, because when you go see theater, and I mentioned this a couple episodes ago, when you see like a person playing guitar, like Stevie Ray Vaughan, from the audience looking on, you always say to yourself, oh, that looks so easy what he's doing. I could do that. And then you go to a guitar center and you pick up the guitar and you try and play anything and it sounds like crap. And you realize in that moment, oh my goodness, what they're doing does take a massive amount of time. It does take a serious amount of preparation and guidance, even with a somebody who's there who's directing you to say, no, you can do this better, you can make this do this, or you could go on this part of the stage while you're playing that note, or even this section of the. All of that matters on some level because it's what helps you, as we said earlier, play with the emotion of the person who's watching your art. And that's what art is, right? We're trying to convey an emotion, convey an idea.
The opening line that I use of the paranormal show, if you listen, you will hear them. I used to say the dead speak. When a song comes on the radio, reminds you of a past loved one. When a scent, like a cigar or perfume comes across your nose and it reminds you of a past loved one. I no longer say the dead speak. I just say, if you listen, you will hear them. And then I go into that other piece because that scripting, if you think about it, to me, it's much more powerful by not stating the obvious. And it's working that out over time and listening to your audience's reactions and learning, just simple dropping out the word, the words, the dead speak. That's 3 words. I took that out and I think it's better.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%. It's much more powerful, I think, also because people listen differently.
Mm-hmm.
Right. On some level, they feel what they hear differently in a very niche kind of, like, my emotional kind of understanding of a word is different than yours, that whole thing.
Right.
But I think that what that says, it leaves an open door for however it is that you hear, however it is that you connect. If you just allow that connection to happen, you'll definitely hear what they're trying to say to you. And that's it's so ethereal and so beautiful and so open. Man, again, Jamie Salinas, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate you, brother.
Yeah,
I hope you have a wonderful day.
All right. You have a great one. Thanks, everyone.
All right, man. See you later. Oh my God, episode 18. Oh my God. It's so good. It is so good. It has not stopped. Every single episode we're learning. Every single episode we're growing. This is what this was about from the beginning. And what a great lesson. Massive amounts of lessons, but one really beautiful one from Jamie, which is, can-do attitude here, folks. I'm not here to complain and bitch about what's going on. I'm here to just make things happen. And if I come up to a person of authority and they don't know what's going on, folks, I'm now your new person of authority. Let's start moving. Let's get things done. And you can't ask for better in a human being. My friends, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's show. I hope you really gained something from this and from all that we're learning together. My friends, please go out to the world, do something nice for somebody else. And if you can't do something nice for yourself, it does start with you. Number 2, don't get caught up in all the crazy stuff that's going on, because if you do, then you're just thinking about the crazy stuff and not about the stuff that you need to be doing out there for others. And number 3, if you would not mind, please like, share, subscribe, send this out to somebody who'd like to see it. My friends, I love you all so very much. Thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart, and I will see you all on the other side.